Hello and welcome to the Opalis Quick Integration Kit Video Tutorial Series 1 of 3 QIK CLI. My name is Charles Joy. I'm a Field Management TSP specializing in Opalis, and today I'll be walking you through how to use the QIK CLI. So what is the QIK CLI? Well, first and foremost, it allows you to package CLI commands into deployable objects or integration packs. The Opalis Quick Integration Kit Command Line Interface Wizard, QIK CLI Wizard, enables the ability to encapsulate commands, arguments, and parameters based on various configurations. The resulting object is a Microsoft .NET 2.0 Framework DLL. The invoke.NET object can be used to test the resulting DLL generated. The following live demonstration will illustrate its usage. You'll note that the Quick Integration Kit bits are a separate install than the Opalis Integration Server software. Once it is installed, you'll see two icons on the desktop, QIK CLI and QIK Wizard, but it's also accessible from Start, All Programs, Opalis Software, Quick Integration Kit 3, QIK CLI. Now that you have the Opalis QIK CLI Wizard open, you have the option to load from a QIK CLI assembly, something you've already created, or create from scratch. We're going to create from scratch in this scenario. First thing we're going to do is click Next. Now you're going to be presented with three fields: Name, Assembly File, and License Key. The first thing we're going to do is fill out Name. We're going to call it QIK CLI Demo. There can be no spaces within this name. Now we need to identify where the assembly file will sit. So we can navigate using the ellipsis button here, bring up the dialog box, navigate to our folder, and give it a name, QIK CLI Demo. And these could be any name, but as long as it follows the normal conventions. Save. I don't have a license key for this, but if I wanted to lock it down to a license key, I could put a GUID in here. I also have the option to add more assembly information, and if we look into here, we see all the things we can add, including versions. We're not going to do that for this exercise, but you certainly have the ability to do so. Now we proceed to the next step. In this next step, we're given the opportunity to add objects or classes to our QIK CLI DLL. But we do this by clicking the Add button, and then we're presented with this next dialog screen with tabs and fields to fill in. In this scenario, we will be building an object that will have the ability to reset a Windows service password. In fact, before we proceed, we should test it out in a command window, something we strongly recommend. So we're going to open a command window, Start, Run, CMD, and we're going to type the CLI command that we want to create the object for. In this case, it's sc// server name, but we're going to use localhost, space config, space the name of the service we want to reset, and in this case it's going to be Opalis remoting service, space password equals space and then whatever the password is. We'll hit enter and see that it was success. We see that the return value here is sc change service config success. That way we know ahead of time that this will work when we're going to actually try to run it from the CLI. Now that we know that it works and we know the syntax, we can go back in and start configuring our object. So the first thing we're going to do is give it a name. Service password reset. Note that this field can take spaces. This will be the name of your object once you actually compile it into an integration pack. The next thing we need to choose is the mode. We have some options: run command, run Windows PowerShell, run program, or run SSH command. For this scenario, we're going to use run command. If we were to choose run program, we'd be able to pick from the program list here from the dialog box. Next, we could give it a description. Reset Windows service password. Now that we've completed this tab, we can move on to the Arguments tab. In this tab, this is where we're going to identify what the command line is and include any parameters that may work. So we know it starts with sc space / but we don't want to hard code any server name in here, so we're going to actually create a parameter. So what we're going to do here is click on the Add button, type the name of the parameter, which would be server name, what type of, in the usage mode, what is it? Command argument or environment variable. It's actually a command argument. What's the display style? This is the type of field that you'll see in the Opalis product itself. Text, encrypted text, true false, text with selection, date time, file, folder, or computer. Well, what we actually want here is a computer chooser. We can enter a default value here if we want, but with the computer chooser, that should give the user an indication of what's needed. So now that we're complete, we can click OK. And now that the parameter exists, we can use it in our command line. So we have two methods to do that. We could click up where it needs to go and right click and choose server name, or we could click where it needs to go, choose insert server name. The next part of the CLI is the word config space, and then the next parameter is necessary, which will fulfill the service name. We choose add service name. Again, it's a command argument, and this time we're going to choose text with selection just to show what this will do. We can choose a default value, but once again we're going to leave that option to the user. But instead, this time we're going to use options and start entering some values. So the one we know we want for this demonstration is Opalis Remoting Service. But we know some names of some other services. Messenger, Printer Spooler, Alerter, so on and so forth. I believe that's actually Print Spooler. You can go in and edit these later on. I'm going to verify that what I put in there is correct. Yep, Print Spooler. And you could add the list or all of them or none of them, but for this option here, we're choosing text with selection. And here are our available selections. You'll see that once we get to the Opalis product itself. We're going to click OK. And now we have service name as a parameter. Now once again, we have the ability to click where we want, right click, service name. Now we have one more part of this to go. That's password equals space and then what the password is. Now when we ran it in the command window, you saw that the password was clear text. Now that's not very secure, so we want to create a parameter that has encrypted text, and we have that option. So we're going to name this parameter password. Still going to be a command argument, and now it's going to be text but encrypted text. And we could offer a default value here, but it doesn't make sense since we could probably generate that in Opalis anyway. We click OK. Click up where we need to use it in the command line. Again, you have two options, but I'll do insert password. It may have gone down to the second line, but it is right in line here. And now we're done with the arguments. In this Publish Data tab, this is where you would normally put the information to parse the output for the published data. Since there's not much output for this command, we don't have to do this. But you certainly can add published data and either parse the standard output stream or the standard error stream for the text. You name the published data here. You either do match pattern, which will give you a true-false value, or exact group, which will give you the grouping of text or string that you want, and then the associated regex, and then a description. As I said, we're not going to do this for this example, but you certainly have the ability to. So now that we have our command line and our arguments, we can finish this object. If we wanted to add other objects to this class, we certainly can do so by adding. If we wanted to edit, we can choose edit. If we wanted to remove, we could choose remove. But since all we want to do is this service password reset for this example, we click on next. At this point, it's building the .NET assembly and placing it in the directory where we asked it to place it. which happens to be C demo, QIK CLI demo, and here's the DLL. And you can see it was successfully generated. At this point, it's giving you the option to build an integration pack, but we want to test it first. So we're going to go ahead and hit finish here. Verify that this has some size to it, so it was successful. Close that out, and we're going to go into Opalus Integration Server. So we're going to go ahead and open the Opalus Integration Server client. Go ahead and make it full screen. We're just going to come down to Policies. We'll create a new folder. QIK Demo, or QIK CLI Demo. And create a new policy. Go ahead and rename that to QIK CLI Demo. And now we can use the Quick Integration Kit 3.0 integration pack with the invoke.net object. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab one of those out of the category. Open it up. You see we have a couple things to fill out: assembly, class, and setup. We're going ahead and choose assembly. We actually want the one we created, so QIK CLI demo. Now we're going to be able to see the available classes. So service password reset, and we're done. Now setup will never be used when you're doing a QIK CLI because there's no way to configure that setup. That's for the SDK. But we do have this properties tab where we can see those fields that we created. And you can see that by not putting the space in there, the field name reflects that. So if I go ahead and click in here, you can see that this is an ellipsis, and I can choose, and we see a computer browser. So I'm going to go ahead and browse to a computer, choosing this one, Opalus Demo VM, Opalus Demo VM. Then the service name. Now I get another pick list, but this is the pick list that I actually created. Opalus Promoting Service. And the password. Now I can start typing any password I want, and you don't know what it is because it's masked. I click finish on that, and then my object is complete. Now I could rename this. Let's name it something intelligent. Let's see. Service password reset. Now I can go ahead and test it. I'm going to use the testing console for this, which will actually execute the command, but we'll be able to see all the data in the log here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit run. You see that it ran very quickly there. We're going to scroll down to the output, and we're going to see SC change service config success. The same thing we saw when we ran it from this the command window. Now we know it's working. What we're going to do is actually close out of the Opalus Integration Server client and go back in and show you how to edit it. Say I want to change those names of those fields. So I'm going to go ahead and open the QIK CLI, load from QIK assembly, choose a DLL, and it's going to have all the information that I've already set up. I'm going to navigate to the next window, go ahead and choose my object, go to the Arguments tab, and we can see that what we have here is are the parameters here. I'm going to go ahead and click Edit. I'm going to put a space in between so we can see the space reflected in the client. Now just to be safe, I'm going to get rid of this. Insert server name. I'm going to get rid of this. Insert service name. And password is just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Hit next, and this should build out just fine. The reason I closed the Opalus Integration Server previously was so that this could actually create the DLL without the Opalus Integration Server actually stepping on it and using it. I'm going to hit finish and open up the Opalus Integration Server client again. With the Opalus Integration Server client open again, we'll go ahead and maximize, navigate down to the folder, and the object that we created previously. Go ahead and open that folder and object up. Reassociate the assembly. Go ahead and choose that. Choose the class, and then check the properties. You can see the name change that we did is reflected here, but the functionality will still be the same. So we'll choose server name from the pick list, choose service name from the service name pick list, and add a password. Now we'll hit finish. We'll go ahead and test this again to ensure that none of the changes broke the object. Go ahead and hit run. We can see it ran successfully. Let's check the output, and we can see that the output notes success. So as we wrap up here, I'm going to go ahead, close out Opalis Integration Server, and review what we've accomplished. During this tutorial for the QIK CLI, we've accomplished the following steps. We figured out the CLI command to be encapsulated. We tested the CLI command in a command window before starting to use the QIK CLI wizard. We used the QIK CLI wizard to configure the CLI command. We tested the newly created DLL from the QIK CLI wizard using the evoke.net object, and we made changes and retested as necessary. Be sure to check out related content on this Opalis Quick Integration Kit Video Tutorial Series. This was 1 of 3 QIK CLI, 2 of 3 is QIK SDK, and 3 of 3 is QIK Icons. We certainly appreciate you watching. Thank you.